Hi guys, I'm Ed, and I'm here to explain you a little bit about the bike in triathlon and how you can become faster on a bike in triathlon. So what here we will discuss is how you can reduce your bike time by improving your bike, by improving your sitting position, and by improving your transition time T1 and T2. So in this course we will discuss several solutions in 5 parts. So number 1 is the bike selection, so which bike you should probably use in triathlon. And then number 2, that is about aerodynamics. So aerodynamic, that is very important, that is the most important one in triathlon. So first we discuss the theory, and then in the next chapter then we see how we can use aerodynamic improvements during the bike leg. And then in chapter 4 then we have friction and we have weight, where we can also get some improvements, although it is not as much as through aerodynamic improvements. And then the last one is the transition, where when you are coming out of the water and changing to the bike, or from bike to the run. And also in transition you can save quite some time by investment in some equipment. So I have to delete this first. Sorry. Clear all. So, of course, training is most important. That will make you fast. Yeah? But, however, also with better equipment you can improve, you can increase your speed, you can reduce your time. So in general this course is for beginner, but I think also some advanced triathletes find some new ideas. When I prepared the course I also got new ideas, something which I didn't know before. So then let's start with the bike. So in this course I will not only mention what you can do to improve your bike, but also we will see how much is the improvement, so the output you get, and the investment, that means how much you have to pay for that, which I will usually use euro. For me it's easier, number 1. Number 2, the prices are usually in euro or dollar, because everything is imported. So with 16,000 you can also calculate it to Indonesian rupees. And then at the devil he will explain you what he did to improve his performance on his bike. So let's see what the devil has to say, and how he can introduce himself. Hi guys, my name is Ed. I am living in Jakarta, and here in Indonesia many people call me also the devil or El Diablo. But the real devil is in fact here. The devil, that's my training bike. I use it for training, for everyday training. I did also some triathlon with it, and I also did some bike races with it. Now here in these videos I would like to explain you a little bit about how you can improve your road bike for triathlon. I'm doing triathlon for about 10 years. I started with one triathlon a year, and now usually I'm doing about 2, 3 or sometimes even 4 triathlons. So let's see, have fun together. I hope you can learn something from me, from that what I did, my failures, but maybe also some ideas how you can improve your bike leg. See you. Hi. So, okay, so that was At the Devil, and now we are starting to talk about the bikes, and maybe you did already your first triathlon. I don't know which bike you used for that, but let's see what the
Hi
devil
guys,
is talking about.
when you are doing your first triathlon, you probably do it on whatever bike, that is no problem. You can use a mountain bike like this one, you can do it with a city bike like this one, and you can do it of course also with a road bike like this one. The disadvantage of the city bike is that you are in a very straight sitting position, straight upward, so you get a lot of the wind, of the headwind against you. Besides that, this steel bike, which is maybe already 35 years old and I used in Germany, is also very heavy. I think it is about almost 20 kilogram, maybe double of that bike. The mountain bike has also the disadvantage that you are sitting very straight and get a lot of the wind against you. And beside that, also the wheels. These wheels will give a lot of friction and also make you quite slow.
Yeah, so that means it is better if you would use another bike, and let's see what the devil is recommending there.
If you want to make triathlon regularly, you would like to have a road bike. With a road bike, you can do fast triathlons. Here you can see my one, that's my first one, it's maybe 10 years old. So I bought it 10 years ago, and I imagine that the bike is maybe 15 years old. This one, also a road bike. I bought it about 3 years ago. The difference between the two bikes are that this one here has a carbon frame, and with this it is a little bit lighter than this one, which is mostly aluminum frame. But in triathlon it is not a big issue. You can use a aluminum frame. It's a little bit heavier, but weight is not so important. Most important is that you have a good sitting position. So this bike here is a real road racing bike. It's in a M size, so you cannot compare directly to the other one. And this part here is short compared to this one here. And that is not only because of the large size, but also because it's a little bit different. This one here, the black one, is constructed for long distance riding. So you are sitting a little bit more upright compared to this bike where you are sitting quite low. In my opinion, both bikes are very good for triathlon. You can use both of them. You can adjust the seating position as you need. Aluminium frame is no problem, and if you are low on budget, I think in Indonesia you can get a bike like this for maybe already 7 million, maybe even a little bit lower. A big difference, or one difference, which is between these two bikes, and also if you buy a new bike, between a lower budget bike and a higher budget bike, is the group set. And here, if you count them, this here is a 9-gear set, while the other one, which is the standard now, is 11. So you can choose between 11 gears. Beside that, of course, in front you have 2 and can switch between these 2. So that is one point which is important. Here you have more choices. And the second one is that this one here, the largest one, which is used if you go up the mountains, that is quite large. It is 32 compared to this one, which is smaller. It has only 25. So if you're going up the mountains, I strongly recommend, especially if you are a beginner, to have in the back a 32 or even a 34 as your lowest gear. And in front here I think it is 39, the smaller one. And on my newer bike, here I have a smaller one, it is 34. I also recommend, especially for beginner, use the 34. So if you have in front 34 and in the back 32 or 34, then you have almost 1-to-1 between the front and the last one. And it is much easier to go up the mountains compared to this one, where you have 39 to 25, and in the lowest gear you have to really fight up the mountains because it is very, very heavy and difficult to go up. If you want to make triathlon,
that was about the bikes. So what is recommended is a road bike. Yeah. So road bikes you can get from quite low price, low budget, and you can choose your setup there. But you can also have it with a little bit higher budget. We recommend use this long distance setup. Yeah, it is more comfortable, especially for the beginner. And then go for such a low gear, yeah, something like 34, 32 or 34, 34. So then it is much easier if you go up the mountains. What you also can consider, another kind of road bike, is a so-called aero bike. So that is now sold everywhere. So what you see here, the frame is aerodynamically better than the bike before, and you have also the aero wheels. We will discuss that later. So aero bike is also an interesting investment, because here I have already some numbers regarding to aerodynamic, what we will discuss later, but you can see these are here normal bikes, yeah, the yellow one that are normal bikes, as you see before, from different companies, and the numbers in watt is between 100 and 116, and high is bad, yeah, and low is good. So these are aero bikes, and you see they're all lower. Yeah, so the best one is about almost a little bit lower than 70 compared to 100 or 110. Yeah, that is quite an improvement, and that is related to the better frame and the wheels. And if you want to get some idea what is related to the wheels and what is related to the frame, this Canyon bike was also measured with aero wheels, so the difference here is 10, yeah, between, so you can say maybe 10 watt is related to the wheels, and then the rest is related to the frame. Unfortunately, the price is quite high, so these bikes are between 4,700 and 7,300 with electric or electronic shifting. So in the average is 5,900, and if you buy a manual one, then you are maybe 1,000 lower. So it's about 5,000, which is still quite expensive. And as comparison, I had my black bike before, plus I have an triathlon bike, and I bought extra some aero wheels, and all together it was about 5,000. So yeah, same price for that. But if you want to have only one bike, you could consider this, and also to use this for triathlon, although it will be a little bit a compromise. You also have to consider the weight. Here you can see the weight of aero bikes related to the reference bike, which is a normal road bike. Aero bikes are always a little bit more heavier. That is related to the wheels, but it's also related to the frame, because to construct such a frame you need more carbon. All these bikes are of course made by carbon. So something else what you could consider is a gravel bike, which is now coming out. A gravel bike you can also use for triathlon. The advantage of the gravel bike is that you can also go a little bit into the mountains on streets which are not very good. What is the reason for that? That is that they use disc brakes. They have the advantage that they brake better, number one. But if you use these disc brakes, you can put here wider tires into it. So these tires are maybe 35 millimeter, maybe 40 millimeter, maybe even 45 millimeters. And with such a tire, you can also go on a bad road. Yeah. So if you are thinking about doing triathlon and also maybe would like to go over roads which are not so good, you could consider to buy such a bike. Compared to a normal road bike, they're a little bit more expensive, yeah, maybe some 200, 300 euros. One reason for that is that these brakes are more expensive, yeah. But you can, if you later on would like to make a triathlon, you can also use aero wheels. You can put into it, yeah, if you would like to. You have usually very low gears, yeah, in front, 46 and 30. So 30 is in front, the smaller one here, and in the back you have 34. So this divided by that, 30 by 34, it's 0.9. So that is even easier to go up the mountains than with my bike, where I have in front I have 34, and in the back I have 32, so 1.1, something like that. Yeah, so easy climbing you get also with this, and at high speed usually, especially for beginner with 46 to 11, you have no problem. Yeah. So that is also what you could consider as an alternative. No problem, I think, to do a triathlon with this. Sorry. So a road bike is a good decision. You can use them. Yeah, you can go for that. You can use gravel bike if you would like to, and you can consider an aero bike if you maybe would like to have one bike. What is maybe at the moment quite important is that there are 3 trends in bike design, and which you could consider if you would like to use the bikes for a very long time. Number 1 are these disc brakes. Yeah, so more and more companies are providing their bikes, especially so in the mid-level, mid-price level, with disc brakes. And because they have disc brakes, they can also go for wider tires. And for wider tires, usually it's better to have wider rims of the wheels. So now the new wheels have usually wider rims. And then also very often they use tubeless tires. Yeah, that is another trend now. So you don't have the inner tube anymore. And with this you can go on quite low pressure. And now we know that low pressure, also not high pressure like before, like 8, 9, even 10 bar. So sometimes now they are using only 4, 5 bar. You are fast. You are even faster than with a high pressure bike. So I have to delete that first. Delete. So if you want to go for a budget road bike, no problem. You can make very nice triathlon with this. Yeah, you can use any road bike, low budget, higher budget, as you want. So no problem also with aluminium. If you buy a little bit better one, then it is aluminium with a carbon fork, and very often also then with a seat post in carbon, because it is more comfortable. Yeah. Then if you look for the group set, so the better ones have already the Shimano 105, or the equivalent from SRAM. If you are a little bit lower in the budget, the next one would be Shimano Tiagra, that is 10 speed. Then the Sora, which has 9 speed, that is the same which I have on my old bike. And then a little bit lower is then the Claris with 8 speed. So I have seen in the internet in Indonesia you can get already a bike with Sora for about 7 million. With Tiagra you pay maybe about 10 million, and for 105, then you may be here at that level with an Indonesian bike. And for hilly races, so I recommend that in front you have 34, and in the back you have 32 or 34. Yeah, so then it's easier to go up, and with a higher speed you will have no problems. Yeah, I have no problem with that. And in triathlon you are usually don't going on such a high speed. Yeah, you would like to have a constant power and then more or less also constant speed. Weight is not the main issue, which we will discuss later on. So also if it is aluminium, it's not a big problem, and also you don't have to think much about the wheels. If you are at the entry level, We will discuss it later, so no problem with this also. So, going to the next one. Now a little bit about aerodynamics, friction and weight. These are the main parts which make you slow, yeah, during the race. So that is the reason that we will discuss how to improve aerodynamics, then how we can work on friction, and then a little bit on weight. We will discuss a little bit bike fitting, that is also important to get the right position, and then in transition 1 and 2 you can also waste a lot of time, which is not necessary, so that we will discuss as well, because it's also related to some investments. So this one here is very important. Air resistance is the most important issue in triathlon. So unfortunately the picture is in German, but I will translate it to you. So, Widerstände auf dem Rad. Rad is a bike and Widerstand is resistant. So, and in resistance we have 3 main parts, which are here 69%, 15 and 16, and the 69% that is the resistance from the air, and 15% is from rolling, and 16% is weight. Yeah? So you see, we have to focus on air resistance. So, in triathlon we are not allowed to draft behind others. So usually we have to be 10 meters behind somebody else. And then with this we are driving always into the wind. So the wind is our first enemy. And the wind is related to wind resistance. Now we would like to look into the wind resistant. Here, Luftwiderstand. I took that out of a German magazine. Air resistant. So, and here we have something that is 75%. So, that is of course most important. And what is this 75%? Here we have it again. That is us. That is the guy on the bike, but inclusive of the shirt or whatever the person is wearing and the helmet. Yeah? So it's this part, this and this. That is most important. 75%. Only 8% is the frame. So you remember the aero bike before for 5,000, and 8% are the wheels. And then we have 9%, and that is for everything else what is on the bike, and we will discuss it later. So it could be, for example, here these cables, yeah, we have, and then the bottle and things like that. Yeah? So that is the rest. So we see we have to look first to ourselves. So now a little bit about friction. We said also before, friction is also important, and let's see what the devil has to say about friction.
I would like to explain a little bit about friction on a bike. So if we start here, we push the bike on the pedal, so we have friction here, and then we have friction here on that point. We have friction everywhere where there is movement. Then it goes into the chain. The chain is moving, and later on also here in the back we have friction everywhere there, here in the back on the wheel, bottom bracket, and here we have bearings in it. So it would be possible to improve, to change the bearings, but that is quite expensive, and the improvement is not so significant. But what is very significant is the chain. So before you are going to race, you should clean your chain, and then you put some oil. You can buy it in a shop, special oil for that. You put on it. So you clean the chain, you clean here everything. You also have to clean here everything. That is not so optimum for a race. So with this, you can significantly reduce your friction.
So, thank you very much to the devil, but that was not complete, because we have one more point of friction, and that is between the tire and the surface. That is very important. Yeah. So the tire are on the surface, and there's always friction between tire and surface. And later on also we will discuss that a little bit. So that also have to be seen. And now we have also the problem of the weight. The weight comes into play only in two situations, which we don't have so much in triathlon. Number one is if we are going up to a hill. So there, for the energy, there is a relationship to the mass. So the higher the mass, the more energy we have to put into it. Yeah? The second one is if we are accelerating. That means usually that is after a U-turn where we really have to brake and then we have to accelerate again. There we have also for the force, we have this formula, also very easy, and there we have also the mass. Yeah, only for these two parts it is relevant. Yeah? If we are going with constant speed, then that has no impact. So the mass has no impact. And if we talk about mass, then we don't talk about only the mass of the bike, but the total mass, which is my mass or your mass and the bike mass. And that is a real mass, because like in my case 90 kilo and 10 kilo is 100 kilo. So if we reduce here 100 gram or whatever, or 200 gram or so, so compared to the whole one, yeah, it is not so relevant. But also it has some relevance, but compared to aerodynamic, it is not so important. Yeah. Also, but actually I always thought before that the mass of the wheel is very important, because it is here turning around. So also there goes energy into it. But Swiss side has a video and they show that that is actually not true. Yeah, so there's almost no impact during acceleration. The reason is that this energy the energy we are not losing, yeah, but it is kept inside, and so we can roll with that. So then the bike position, that is also important, because if we are sitting in the wrong position, like I did in the last month, yeah, because I had a new saddle and I fitted it wrongly, I had always back pain. You can get back pain, you can get pain in the knee, so bike fitting is important. So you should use a professional bike fitter, or maybe you fit by yourself with a friend, or you look into the internet how to do it. The devil will give you some information, only so the points which are important, which you should consider if you do your bike fitting by yourself.
Hi guys, now I would like to explain a little bit about the right sitting position on a bike. We call it bike fitting. So the best way would be you go to a professional bike fitter and you find out it together with him or her and find the right position. But if you don't want to spend that money, I paid about 100 euro or 1.5 million rupiah for it. So 4 points you have to consider, I would like to tell you. The first one is the position of the shoe on the pedal, which you can adjust here with the cleat. The second one is you have to find the right height of the saddle. Very often the height is too low, and that you adjust here at that point. And after this, then you adjust the saddle. You can move it front or back and have to find out there the right position. And at the end, you find the right position of your handlebars, where you can move it up and down by number one, these rings. Yeah, I'm in a very low position, but I could move down that ring, then the whole handlebar is going up. Or I also can flip the stem, and I have the low position, then also my handlebar would come up a little bit. So these are the main points you should consider.
So, thank you. And actually, you could see in this video the wrong saddle position, which I just mentioned before, where I had all the back pain because the saddle was too much in the back. Yeah, and in this video it was still in the wrong position. So later on in the video we would like to compare between for the improvements, and all these measurements of performance and the comparison is done based on power, and that is measured in watt. Yeah? So we don't use something like speed, because the speed depends on hills, going up and down, makes a big difference on a bike, and also the wind, if you have the wind more against you or from behind. So that is not so feasible if we are talking about bikes. So measurement and comparison is done based on power, and that means in watt. So here I give you some ideas when we later on talk about watt, so that you know, yeah, how much is it, yeah, a watt. These are my power numbers now and before. One, if you know a little bit about power, the functional threshold power, that is 1 hour all out, and but usually measured at 20 minutes and then with a factor. So my number is at the moment 207. So a good friend of mine, I'm often biking with, he has, as comparison, he has 280 there. Yeah? Before he started a lot of systematic training, he was at 235, and with 235 he became 280. So you can see something like 40 watt Yeah, so he got in, I think, half a year or in 1 year. And here, that is what in my last triathlon in Bali, which is a flat one, but drafting allowed, 40 kilometers Olympic distance. So I have, this is a normalized power, that is the power. So let's say something like 170, 180, 90. That was a year before, yeah, so 180, 190 also more or less. The speed here, this the last year was 34, here 32, that was because of drafting. Yeah, so drafting was allowed, I had a very good group, and so good speed with that. So here you also can a little bit compare power and speed. Yeah, that was here like my best one in Bengkulu. I could go under 185, 198 watts. The speed is not so high. I could not draft so much, and it was hilly. Yeah, but from the power, very good values. And then I had an accident with a car. Unfortunately, I could finish this part, but I could not finish the run. Yeah, but that was maybe more or less my best one on the bike. In Bintan, the half Ironman, that is 90 kilometers hilly, so 141, 164, and so the speed is also only 27. My best is there 30. But I had no power meter at that time, so I don't know how much power that was. And here for 180 kilometers in Hamburg, speed was 26, 110, 123 watts. So these are some numbers so that you can compare. We later on discuss, here you can save 5 watt or 10 or 20 or 1 watt. Yeah, so you can see where that is. So what we will discuss later on is how much saving you can achieve in terms of power. Then we make some calculations in time. That means for 40 kilometers, which is equivalent to Olympic distance, 90 kilometers, half Ironman, and 180 full Ironman. Yeah. Then we will discuss the investment in euro, or you can calculate it also into rupiah with 16,000 at the moment. And then I will also always calculate how much euro you have to spend for 1 watt in saving. Yeah, so so that you can see where you can invest with the highest effectivity. So then the next sessions will be first a little bit of theory about aerodynamics. So there, aerodynamics. Second one will be then how to apply the aerodynamics so that we can reduce the air resistance. And then the next one will be about friction, how to improve there, about weight, not working anymore, about weight. And then the last one then will be the transition time, how we can reduce this. So clear this up first. That was the overview. With this, we are coming to the end of session one. I hope you got some new ideas, and thank you very much for joining, and then see you in session number 2. Bye.